It's time to build up my bike for Unbound gravel. In today's episode, we're building up this Scott Addict tune with the new hydraulic L2 GRT. The group set we're putting on this bike is L2's latest offering. It's one by, gravel specific. Because it's one by, we just have a rear mech, a set of shifters, a set of calipers, and then we're going to be mixing it with some parts that I've already got.
Like this?
Like that. SRAM red one by crankset.
You don't look after your stuff very well, do you?
I do look after it, I just don't clean it.
How is that not the same thing?
Well, I can't clean if you don't have a hose bike.
I always swear in this one.
We're combining this group set with a 12-speed Z-Race cassette, which is also from AliExpress, and a 46-tooth SRAM red crank. It should all be compatible, on paper. This group set comes in two different versions. They do an alloy version, which is the one we've got here, and a carbon version, which costs a little bit more, but is a little bit lighter. Frankly, because this is a gravel group set, and I'm gonna be riding it at Garmin Unbound, I'm glad we've got the alloy version. Oh, you got your bottle with the name on it?
Got my bottle back, and now you've got a gap on the wall.
Last time we built one of these group sets, you had to Dremel out the brake calipers. Do you think that's gonna happen again?
I hope not, because if you're gonna do Unbound on this bike, it can't be too difficult, it's one by. And I've built this Scott gravel bike over probably, what, 400 times now that it's... I mean, it's arguably gonna have to be the easiest bike build we've ever done. I thought I was building this bike.
Why is Jimmy... Okay, last time, do you remember Jimmy had one job to put the tyres on? He put them both on backwards. Now we're letting him put cassettes on.
If Jimmy's...
Is that even in the right order? I'm going to be changing gear and suddenly the bigger one will be on the back.
That's the front wheel.
If Jimmy's building the bike, do I get to film this video?
This feels like it's about to snap.
I do actually like this. Campag does this, where you've got like a little cable end that goes into there, and it's this tight, it won't just slide out. You put a gear cable through it. It's just easier to read things, because you can use a lot of force. It's not like the thin plastic ones where you have to be gentle with them. Stick that in there. That goes up until we can see it. Magnets.
It's not gonna work.
The magnet doesn't work.
I told you.
1 hour later.
Have you guys sorted your domestic out yet? About which way the tyres go?
These tyres I bought from your shop, Mamba CX Plus.
Yes.
But why is it called CX if it's not a cyclocross tyre?
It was originally a cyclocross tyre.
But they made a fat
bigger.
version.
Yeah.
Okay. So these are 650Bs that we're putting on this bike, 2-inch tyres. So it's basically a mountain bike tyre,
Yes.
but very fine tread.
Different ways depending if it's a front wheel or the rear wheel. Jimmy wants to go front for the front, and you want to go rear for the front and front for the rear. Now who knows better, you or Hutchinson? I get what you're saying because it looks wrong.
It doesn't matter if it looks wrong. They're professionals. They know what direction their arrow's in.
Maybe it's backwards in France.
It also makes no difference if we put it on either way, so I don't know why we're still having this conversation.
My GP5000 on the JGM is the wrong way around. Nobody's commented on it yet in the shop.
tyre.
Even if it wasn't a slick tyre, you're telling me you're going to notice? Outrageous.
You haven't got to ride Unbound on this.
So I personally do not care whether the rotation of the tyres back or front makes no difference. I must care about this. I wouldn't have thought I would have cared about this. Hutchinson, why are you doing this to me?
That's all the brands are doing it nowadays.
Look at this, I've lined it up. Look how perfect that is lined up, right in the middle.
Oh no.
That's a long way off.
Don't be slagging Hutchinson off. All the brands are doing it at the moment. It's killing me as well. Some of them have like bold print on the one side and then like a dull print on the other side. So it's not slightly off, it's massively off. If you're not sure, drive side needs to be right. So get that side.
You need to insert Hercules.
Disappointed! I heard there's a new climb on the Garmin Unbound course, which I'm not looking forward to because this group set has a 34 on the back and I have a 46 chainring, which usually I use this with the 1052, the mullet style thing. So this is going to be fairly limiting. All the better for you guys though, because you get to watch me suffer. The L2 mech itself looks drastically different from the road version that we had before. So I'm looking forward to trying it and seeing how the shifting is.
The rear mech can take a 50-tooth cassette and it even has a clutch built into it. If you don't know, a clutch takes in some of the slack of the chain so that if you're on bumpy terrain, the chain is less likely to come off.
I'm gonna cry.
Why?
We left a bit out of the bike.
The amount that you do this is insane.
It's because you guys distract me with all of your cracker bike.
Just get the wire cutters and just cut a little section off the front.
No. Jimmy, do you think this group set is good value? Because it's £200.
What are you getting for £200?
You're only getting the mech singular, brake calipers and levers, and some fluid inside the hoses.
So how much would it cost to finish the group set? So you'd need crankset, chain, bottom bracket, rotors. What else am I missing? Cassette.
It comes across as good value because you look at that, and loads of companies now splitting their groups between bits. But I mean, I think Wiggle, when we did the last video, was selling a full 105 11-speed hydraulic group set, including BB and rotors, for 425 or 450 quid.
Did you say 11 speed?
Yeah.
No, I'm out.
If you're looking at budget, there's always going to be better value.
Do you think that's why people will buy this though? Because it's 12 speed?
I hope
They
not.
want 12 speed?
I hope not.
Well, they
'cause,
write
like,
12 on it because it's a big deal.
But there's no difference.
But
is
if you
there?
look, a chain for that's going to cost between 30 and 40 quid. You start adding rotors, cheap rotors, 20 quid a rotor. So that's another 40. Bottom bracket, 30 to 40 quid depending on your frame. Cassette, 12 speed. That's going to cost you an absolute fortune. So all of a sudden it's like,
How much is it actually though? What's a cheap 12 speed cassette? If you're buying from Altwu, then you're probably buying a cheap cassette as well.
Yes,
and
but
maybe cheap
my only concern then is I'd buy several of them, because if your cassette runs out or your chain's worn out and you have to wait 3 or 4 weeks for it to arrive from AliExpress. I mean, you're not popping into a bike shop and saying, can I have an Altwu cheap AliExpress 12 speed cassette? I'll be selling you a SRAM XX1 cassette for 400, well, the new one, 645 quid for the Type T.
He knows what he's talking about, and he's an asshole.
We can go much bigger cassette-wise on this, which is going to help you for Unbound, so you're not stuck with this, because we're going to need another cassette. I'm thinking more 42, 44.
Rotor cassette?
Rotor cassette.
So this mech has a lot more clearance than we thought, which means we can use this cassette, a one-piece rotor, lovely one, which goes up to 39 tooth.
Not that it matters at all, but we're going to weigh the bike. Also thanks to viewer Brian Travis from Forks Bicycle Shop somewhere in America for the genius method for how we're actually meant to use the scales. Ta-da!
8.17 kilos.
Means nothing.
So we've built this bike up a few times before. I'm not going to talk about the frame too much. It's a lovely gravel frame. It's high-end carbon fiber. The geometry's great. It has massive tyre clearance. But this build is different because we've never ridden this group set before. The L2 GRT. One comment not related to the performance. I wish they would stop making their logo look like other brands and sound like other brands, like GRT. It's probably like GRX, isn't it?
It looks like, yeah, it's the same font, isn't it? Or it's a very similar typeface.
It could be its own thing. So that would be my one criticism of the branding. But on the whole, it rides pretty well. We have not the official cassette you're supposed to use with this group set. We've got the rotor one on, we've got a SRAM chain, so it's a bit of a mishmash of parts. Despite all of that, it is shifting fairly well. We're also running an outer all the way through this frame set because you have to, because I think officially this frame set is wireless only. So that will degrade the shifting slightly, but it's still fine. I haven't missed a shift yet. Braking performance feels exactly the same, and if you saw that video, you'll know that I was very happy with it. Hydraulic brakes, they're fantastic on this.
Have you, are you running your power meter? Because your data's about to get f***ed up. Half of the shifters are very comfortable and the half is very uncomfortable. The actual hand bit by here is very good, but there's like a lump at the heel. Is it called the heel of your hand? This bit, you know, it's a lot higher than that. And you can, well, I can definitely feel it. I would want a pair of gloves if I was riding this a lot. The most significant thing about it is that it isn't crap. It is just as good as other group sets I've ridden. It's not spectacular, but then it shouldn't be spectacular.
Does it shift better than Shimano 105? I think the answer is no.
My personal thought is that it isn't actually set up right yet. I think we need to stick it back in a stand, have a bit of a fiddle around, maybe actually look at an instruction manual and see if there's something we're missing. Maybe we're setting it up quite wrong. It is a bit twitchy, but I don't think it's the group set, I think it's the setup. Blame Nick. It's not SRAM ETAP, so he doesn't know what he's doing. Challenge yourself with the Garmin Unbound Gravel 200, 100, 50, 25 or XL. What's XL?
350 miles.
Why doesn't it say 350 then?
If you want to see what happens at Garmin Unbound, then subscribe to this channel for more.
You could also click on the little bell and then you'll get notifications when we drop really, really amazing, cool, fun videos that you're going to love watching.
What about the non-amazing ones?
They don't exist. Not under my watch, Francis. Not under my watch. On that note, see you on the next one.